This is Donna Marr at FADEL, and this Rights Cloud How and Why will teach you about assets. When people think of Rights Cloud, most think of assets because one of the system's primary functions is running clearance against usage rights details associated with assets. The definition of an asset in Rights Cloud is a record that represents and references a piece of licensed content which typically is stored elsewhere and has rights and contributors. In order to perform clearance, at a minimum, asset records should contain rights details for territory, use, and effective dates. As you start using the system, you will notice that there are different types of assets and details that can be included. I am looking forward to seeing what types of assets you enter, so let's get started with our review. I am in the Rights Cloud dashboard, and from here we'll select Assets, and then Assets again in the drop-down. This will bring you to the list of assets already set up in the system. If you go to the top right corner, you can complete a search or advanced search of the asset list. There is a video available on advanced search if you would like to know more. The asset list contains the following columns: thumbnail, asset ID and name, related project if there is one, asset description, type, and status, source showing here as UI because I manually entered my assets, and date of asset creation. There also are action capabilities within each asset row to edit, clear assets, copy, create an asset association, and delete. Some of the actions just mentioned, along with additional features, are available on the right-hand side of the screen. Both single and multiple asset selections are supported, and I will now select a couple of assets for us to further review. Back over to the right, there are the Add and Delete asset options. The Clear Asset capability is next. With the asset selected that you would like to run a clearance on, select the check. This will bring you to the clearance screen, and the assets appear ready for the next step of clearance inquiry selections. There is a future video that will be dedicated to the Rights Cloud clearance functionality, so be sure to subscribe to the How and Why channel to be notified upon availability. As a final mention, in the clearance screen, there is the Back to Assets option for easy return to the Assets screen. Continuing with the available action options, there is the Add To functionality. This allows you to assign groups, a project, or agreements to the asset. As an example, let's look at my selected assets. Notice that they do not have any project relationships. I will select Add To Project, and the Add Asset wizard appears. This will guide me through the attachment process. My assets selected now show with an assigned project. As the wizard has a few steps that vary based on selection of Add To Groups, Project, or Agreements, there will be an upcoming video specific to the process. I also suggest that you explore the FADEL support portal FAQs, as there are some great articles about business rules and processes related to asset assignments. You can print your assets by selecting the PDF option. It is required that you enter a title, and description is optional. You can also choose details about the asset that you want included. Select Export, and the PDF document will be created. The final option allows you to adjust the asset view. Currently, I am in List View and can move to Card View. The cards contain actions to edit and delete. You can also easily go back and forth between views. Now let's look at an asset already in the system. I'm going to open one of the assets that Pepper the Cat is the talent, by selecting the asset name. As we review the fields, you will notice that some contain an asterisk. That means that they are required fields. Asset ID will auto-generate upon saving. Name of the asset and description. For type, we are looking at an image, but other options include video, text, audio, and file. Status can be active, inactive, or pending. Source will show defaulted as UI. Creation date will populate upon saving. Business unit will default to the one that you are in. Project will show if the asset has been associated to one. Asset fee and currency. And external ID is used in cases where outside system integrations are in place. On to the Rights tab. Here you will see the rights associated with the asset of territory and use, along with effective dates or in and out date. You can double-click on a row or use the expand icon to view any additional rights details. There are a couple of ways that rights can be assigned to an asset. The first is through the Agreement or Project Attachment Wizard functionality that we reviewed earlier when in the Assets List screen. If that process is used, then the rights associated with the agreements that have been attached will show here highlighted in gray. In my example, I have a model and photographer agreement attached. You will see a link to the agreements, and photos of the contributor will show if available. If rights lines are from an associated agreement, you cannot edit them from the screen and would have to go into the agreement to do so. The other option for rights association to assets is by manual entry. From the Actions option on the right, select Add. Within the Add Rights window, enter in date and out date of when the rights are effective. Select Territory and Use. These selections pull from the setup within Administration, Rights Definitions, and there is a video available on that process. As a reminder, the fields with asterisks are required, so only the dates, territory, and use are necessary here. The other optional fields are Reference ID, used for data upload processes. Usage obligation is entered for any fees or rates that may apply when the asset is used. In the Rights Cloud Clearance Results UI, obligation will show. Maximum uses is the limit of times that the asset can be used. Acknowledgement allows for entry of any text that must be included when the asset is used. For example, a copyright line or credit. This field information will also show in the Rights Cloud Clearance Results UI. Source defaults to UI since you are manually entering the rights. Scope defaults to asset as you are in the asset record. Notes can be added for anything additional about the rights. From this window, you can select Save and add a new right to create additional rights combinations against the asset. For example, maybe there were some other territory and use rights during a different in and out date range. Or you can select OK, and that will bring you back to the Rights tab. It is important that you click Save here to complete the rights setup. Our Pepper the Cat example asset now shows with a combination of manually entered rights and rights from agreement association. For the rights lines that are manually entered only, besides the expand option, you are able to copy, edit, and delete. You also can select a manually entered rights line and use the right side action option of delete. I would like to point out that within the actions in the gray header bar, there is a rights summary feature. This rights summary will show combinations of rights available for the asset along with dates that the combinations are available for across all rights line setups. This is a snapshot of what will return a result of available for use when running clearance against the asset. A final mention is that there are search capabilities within the tab if you have multiple rights and want to find something specific quickly. The next tab is contributors, who are rights holders associated with the asset. There are two ways that contributors can be added to the asset: by attachment of projects and agreements, or manually. Currently, we are viewing contributors that have agreements associated with the asset. Let's go through the columns. An image will show the contributor if there is one available. Name, you can select the link to view additional contributor details. Agreement, the link here can also be selected to view agreement details. Role of the contributor, and primary contact along with phone and email. Within each contributor row, there are edit and delete options, but if contributors are associated with the asset through agreement association, then there will be business rules around being able to take these actions. For example, you will not be able to edit the contributor details. Also, if you delete the contributor, then you will be removing the agreement from the entire asset relationship. There is the action option to the right that additionally allows for deletion, and multiple contributors can be selected at one time. To manually add a contributor, select Add from within the action options. This will bring up the Add Contributor window where you will need to enter party information. New parties can be added here, or you can search for parties already set up in the system. There is a video on Rights Cloud parties that will be helpful in further understanding of field entries required. Within the Add Contributor window, there is an additional section titled Contributor Information. Contributor Role Selections Parallel Party Role. If the party has multiple roles, then you have the option of selecting the role that is particular to the asset contribution. Reference ID is used for data upload processes. Source, defaulted to UI because of manual entry. And scope, asset, because we are in the asset record. Once you have your contributor added, then you can either save and add a new contributor or select OK. The new contributor now shows, however, you need to click Save to complete the process. As you have seen in some other tabs, you also have the search feature within contributors. Please be on the lookout for an upcoming video about projects, as it will review contributor setup relationships with the project attachment process. The Agreements tab details the agreements that have been associated to the asset. The columns show agreement number. This can be selected to view the agreement in full. Description, primary party, type, start and end date of the agreement, and status. Both draft and book statuses will show here as long as an association to the asset has been made. However, it is worth a mention that agreements have to be in book status for the clearance engine to take the rights into account. So this is a good place to check if you may need to move a draft agreement to booked before running clearance on the asset. The Groups tab will show populated with any groups that the asset is part of. You can select the group name to view group details and use the breadcrumbs feature to return to the asset. The last tab is Restrictions, and it is similar to the Rights tab. The difference is you are adding a set of rights that are not allowed as related to asset usage. When the Add option is selected, the Add Restrictions window appears for entry of the restricted scenario. All fields in this window are parallel to that reviewed during the Rights section. If you have set up additional information fields for assets, then you will also see a tab related to those. There is a great video available on additional information if you would like to know more. As we have gone through all of the tabs, you probably have noticed the top and left side of the asset record remaining the same. So let's go through these details. On the top are some actions that we've already reviewed when in the asset list screen. You can clear the asset, copy it, and add to a group, project, or agreement. Additionally, there is the rights summary that we discussed when in the Rights tab. And there is a link to asset reports. These can also be accessed through the system menu, Reports. There are some excellent reports related to assets, such as clearance history and rights expiration. I suggest that you check them out. To the left is one of everyone's favorite features, and that is the ability to upload thumbnails of the asset. There is a helpful drag and drop functionality associated with thumbnails, and there is a quick tip video that I suggest viewing about it. Next, there are totals and links to the asset tabs related to contributors, agreements, and groups. And there are attachment capabilities for anything you may like to attach in association with the asset. We now have completed review of all things asset related. Chances are, if you're viewing this video, you already have Rights Cloud. But if not, you can get a free community edition at fadel.com/community-edition. That's all for now, and I look forward to seeing everyone in the Rights Cloud Community Forum.